Oh, who's that kid? Nick. He looks like Beaker from Muppets.
The one on FS1, Nick Wright.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah. I got something
That's
for him.
amazing. I did not even. I love that.
Triple H could give one shit about John Cena's legacy. There's a part of Triple H that wants to have a legacy that's bigger than John Cena's. So trust me, bro, he's not going to do him any favors on the way out.
If I get 5 women and they're all in the same room with me, we're going at it at 110%.
What's going on, everybody? It's Tuesday night. Lazy Booking Podcast coming at you live on A2D Radio. As always, I'm Chrome, joined by my tag team partner, Mr. Eric Archer, right here. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? Feels kind of weird not having a guest host. It's been several weeks, and I see it's thundering and lightning outside. That means it's time to talk some wrestling.
Yeah, man. Listen, it's been a hot minute, almost 2 months. But it's only for a week. But that's it. 1 week, and then the next couple weeks, we're going to be having a guest, and it's going to be a great time, and we'll bring that up in a minute. First and foremost, show a little love to our doctor, Dr. Paul Vidal, specialized physical therapy. Find him at physical locations in Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can find him on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Any aches, pains, anything long-lasting, anything brand new, contact the doctor's award-winning team, and they'll get you back on track to feeling your physical peak at specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Yes, we have a little bit of a break. We wanted to go a little different direction this week. And this week we decided let's bring a concept that we have not done on this show since we were in studio. So Eric, that's a long time because we haven't had an in studio since 2020. COVID shut our old studio down. So
this is pre me.
Yeah, man, it's
Way
been a while.
me.
Been a while. This is pre a lot of people. So the last time we did a couple of these and actually reposted one of them recently where we did the greatest heel, and that was back in 2020. And that was posted. You can find that on the Lazy Booking Podcast TV archives as well as A2D Radio archives. But we thought, let's start having some fun. Let's do some of this, especially with this time of year after SummerSlam. I know Money in the Bank's in September or October, but there's a little bit of a lull typically at this point. So we thought, let's bring something fun back. And it's SummerSlam, and we love to do concept shows and build-ups to the big events like WrestleMania, and we do the same here for SummerSlam. The one thing we did do, Eric, beforehand was, and that was why we didn't do like best matches of SummerSlam history. We one year did a fantasy draft to draft a SummerSlam card, an all-time card. And we took, it was kind of the same setup that we did with the Heels tournament where we did it by decades, and you could take a card, but like it was like you had to take an opening match, and if by opening match it had to be a match that opened a SummerSlam. And then you had to have so many titles, like a secondary title, a tag team title, a world title. It was like different. So anyway, we did that before, and we thought, let's SummerSlam and the opening topic question kind of leans in to why we're doing this tournament as well. Mania has so many iconic matches. It has moments, but there's really iconic matches. SummerSlam, you can make arguments. Is it a more of a classic matches pay-per-view, or is it more of an iconic moments pay-per-view? So with that, Eric, our opening topic before we dive into our tournament, and by the way, we're going to talk Saturday night's main event. We're also going to talk Raw, just some brief news and notes, primarily going to be the tournament today. Wherever you guys are at, Facebook, YouTube, X, join in, chime in, join the conversation. We want your thoughts on the moments selected, and we'll explain the tournament and how it was set up, as well as we need you guys to help us because there's only 2 of us. So if there's a tie, we're going to need a tiebreaker. Or maybe in our conversation, we're leaning away, and by your comments, it may sway us to look at it a different way. So we encourage you guys. of course, like, subscribe, give us a follow, set alerts. But we really want you to be a part of this conversation today, and we're going to bring the bracket up momentarily. But first and foremost, Eric, you're going to kick us off on this one. Our opening, I clicked on the wrong thing. I'm a rookie today. Our opening topic: the legacy of WWE SummerSlam is defined more by shocking moments than by classic matches. Do you agree or disagree? Reminder, guys, chime in on this as well as get involved in the tournament once we kick that off. But Eric, your thoughts on this opening agree or disagree statement brought to us by Specialized Physical Therapy?
Ooh, this is a good one. SummerSlam is the second longest PLE they got going behind WrestleMania. It's often referred to as the second biggest show of the year. And you could argue that Royal Rumble has kind of surpassed that over the last few years, say maybe over the last decade or so. But SummerSlam still is considered a very important show. There's a lot of great moments. There's a lot of good matches. For me, it was always the thing that I would not look forward to when I was a kid, because that would mean that school's getting ready to start again and summer vacations.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. So looking at SummerSlam in that lens, I remember it more for the matches than I do the moments, even though there are some shocking moments and we definitely have some of them on the tournament. But the matches that I grew up, idolizing are definitely in that 90s era. And I just feel like that those matches themselves, and I'm not going to go into particulars, you can kind of, point your finger at the matches that talking about, 91, 92 through 99, which is really my favorite era, the 90s, where there was a lot, like, title changes would happen, like particularly not the major title, the WWF title, but you saw a lot of intercontinental title swaps, tag team title swaps. So I think with that, it was a good halfway point of the year, or third of the way of the year, between WrestleMania, where you got a big show. You had your big names in matches that also really, there were some that there weren't titles on the line. They were involved in different, like, tag matches and things of that nature. And you saw that early on a lot with the earlier incarnations of SummerSlam. So for me, I think it's more of the matches than the shocking moments.
Okay, yeah. See, I respectfully disagree, although it's had many great matches. I feel like the moments are what stands out when you talk about like Money in the Bank cash-ins, surprises showing up, iconic entrances. And I know that part of that is WrestleMania, but there's been so many matches, in my opinion, on Mania cards that have kind of overshadowed that, where when WrestleMania comes up, it becomes greatest match immediately, the conversation. It's, is it Savage and Steamboat, or HBK and Michaels? You can throw Punk and Roman recently into the conversation as one of the greatest. But that's literally like the immediate conversation and where the debate goes. And when you talk to people about, like, for me, it's moments. I feel like moments are what defines things, not necessarily full cards and stuff. But when I look at SummerSlam and I just think about like the surprises, whether it's within a match or it's a debut or it's like I said, a number of Money in the Bank cash-ins that have happened at SummerSlam. I just feel like it kind of set this standard of, like, there's almost an expectation, at least there was for a long time, where, like, when SummerSlam was ending, it was like the credits aren't over yet. Like something's going to happen, because something happens at the end of SummerSlam every year. And I feel like that has kind of defined the event for me more so than anything. But I think it's a great conversation to have, because it does show why it's the number 2 show behind WrestleMania, because you're right. It really is. And now it's, obviously it's a 2-night event similar to WrestleMania. But it became an arena show, or I'm sorry, a stadium show. It became this entire week of like a fan fest, much like WrestleMania. And it's evolved into such a huge event. And I love to say it. So, it's one of those must sees. If I was ever in that point again where I was, in my early mid 20s, where I took a little break from wrestling and I would really just kind of watch the big events, it was more just like WrestleMania and Royal Rumble. I would probably add SummerSlam into that now because it is a spectacle to see. So, no, I think it's a really great event, and a lot of memorable things that we are going to discuss today. Let's see what we got. I think we got a couple. We got Poe chiming in. Poe from
What's up?
Flyers Talk A2D says, "What's up, fellas? I'm filling out my bracket now."
Nice.
I love it.
He showed up on our Monday night time machine last week. So appreciate the visit.
Appreciate you, Poe. Always.
That was a long Nitro we watched. That was quite the watch we had there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing on SummerSlam, it just shows like you love the moments. You can think of the moments more in SummerSlam. I focus more on the matches. That's where it shows that how impactful this event really is and how important it is. So the fact that they've decided to make it 2 nights, and you can debate whether it needs 2 nights or not. I mean, but it shows how big they still consider SummerSlam.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So before we do get into, we just want to remind people while we're at the top of the show here, our next 2 weeks, we're talking about SummerSlam. This is kind of the kickoff to our SummerSlam build. We're going to have a special guest joining us to preview and recap SummerSlam. Frequent visitor, friend to the program. We love him. He's an entertaining guy. He's a very talented man. And he's a man who's going to come on and talk some wrestling with us. Next week, July 28th, August 4th, both days, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be joined by WWE legend, former WWE Tag Team Champion, Headbanger Mosh, government name Chaz Warrington. He's going to join us, guys. He's going to come on. He's going to preview SummerSlam with us, and he's going to talk. He's going to recap the show. So it's going to be a really great time sitting with Chaz again. So like we said, 1 week, little break, little wind here. And that's going to be a really great set of shows. So we're excited to have Chaz back. But let's get into the main event here. Or I guess the main event's first. Let's get into the heart of everything. Guys, this is Lazy Booking Podcast Bracketology, back for the first time in 5+ years. And we decided we're going to go with a SummerSlam most iconic moment of all time tournament. So if you look, just to give an explanation here, everything was chosen at random. We went through, we had about maybe 20 to 25 moments. We threw them out there and then dwindled it down to D16. We have honorable mentions. We will mention them maybe after the first round. But just to give you guys a heads up, this is what we have. So the matchups are randomized. So there's no seeding in this one like we have done in the past. This is completely a randomized tournament. So our opening round matchups, Brett versus Owen, 1994, HBK returns 2002. Then we'll have the first TLC match going up against Shawn and Razor 2. That's their second ladder match. Which is interesting that the two ladder matches ended up being paired together. I guess ironic.
Hey Chrome, before you keep going, I got heckled a little bit on this, and I took the brunt of this, but I was told that these brackets were confusing because it looks like there's a triple threat match between three of them and the other. Yeah, so not to be confused, they are two one-on-one matches. We don't have any three-way dances in this tournament, and you can keep going.
Yes. Yeah. That's my apologies. When I was trying to set it up online, it was not putting the first round. Actually, the first time where I was doing it, it was giving me like only 3 boxes in the second round. I'm like, well, that doesn't work because it was very weird. So just follow more so along with the boxes and not necessarily with the lines. I apologize for that. Our next match, Bulldog wins the IC title at Wembley. That's going to go against Becky turning heel in 2018. Well, the Mega Powers defeating the Mega Bucks at the very first SummerSlam, up against Randy Orton becoming the youngest champion in 2004. Over to the other side of the bracket, we have Roman Reigns returns in 2020, up against Brock defeating Rock. Hogan versus Michaels against Paul Bearer turning on The Undertaker.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I love it. Daniel Bryan winning and Orton cashing in the Money in the Bank immediately. That goes against Cena versus Punk to determine the undisputed WWE champion at 2011 SummerSlam. And then our final first round matchup is the match made in heaven. Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah.
Will you marry me?
Elizabeth.
That's going to go up against the custody of Dominic.
I'm your puppy.
So make sure you guys, again, we want you guys to comment in, share who you think should win. There might be times where there's a tie. Me and Eric need a tiebreaker. So with that, we're going to have you guys join that conversation and be that tiebreaker. But in the meantime, let's get it going. We're back. Hello. All right, Eric, our first round matchup. Let's get into it here.
Real quick. I want people in the comments, if you see something that's not in the tournament that you remember, put it in the chat and we can definitely discuss. We do have some honorable mentions that we were kind of on the fence on. So if you're here listening live, definitely put that stuff in the chat and I'd love to discuss it.
Absolutely. Yes, please do. All right, Eric, our first opening round matchup. We have Brett versus Owen, 1994, brother versus brother, and HBK returns. I'm going to kick this one off and then we'll alternate. So on this one, Brett versus Owen, iconic matchup. Okay. And I'm one of those people who SummerSlam 1994, oddly enough, is one of my personal favorites for reasons I don't even necessarily know why. It's the Undertaker versus Undertaker SummerSlam. To me, what makes this match so special is Brett versus Owen. Owen going for the world title, and he was this close. And at that point in Owen's career, living in the shadow of Brett being that close and his leg getting stuck in the cage, it set such a road for Owen's career and kind of showed he belonged in that main event. Now, unfortunately, due to other circumstances, he never quite made it there. I believe he would have one day. And maybe they missed the boat on him at some points. But that's what makes this match special. But for me, HBK returning trumps this. And the reason I say that is Shawn Michaels was done after WrestleMania 14. He had come back. He had done a general manager role. He was kind of the mouthpiece for the new NWO. Multiple different avenues where he was a participant in this. When Shawn Michaels came back and faced Triple H in an unsanctioned match, as he was a Hall of Famer beforehand, and you can make the argument this kicked off a guy who came in cold. He wasn't training all that time and looked like he never missed a step. It's one of his greatest matches of all time that he came in cold with like maybe a month of training after years and years away from a career-ending injury and put on one of the best performances of his career. And again, it launched another run that I would make an argument, maybe not world title or title acquisition wise, but in-ring work, storytelling, feuds. I think that was the best run of his career. And it was his most clear-minded run of his career. And because of that, I just think it launched Shawn to another level. I think Shawn was one of the best in-ring performers. Having that ability to come back, I think solidified and cemented that moment. And because of this being the launching point for that, I go HBK returning over Brett and Owen.
Okay. I'm going to go backwards.
Sure.
Doesn't mean that I'm picking the same or different, but I'm just going to change it up a little bit. HBK returning. Dude didn't miss a step, being out 4.5 years. And this was supposed to be a one-off. This was like, all right, I'm going to come back, see what I got left in the tank. He turned that into, and I agree with you. Yeah, he only won one world title, but the matches he had in that run are just amazing. And this one right here is near the top. And dude didn't miss a step. And I absolutely love this match with Triple H at SummerSlam.
Real quick, that's a fair point too, Eric, because they basically said to him, and it's well documented, it's been talked about, if you go out there and you're only feeling 3 or 4 minutes, then it's a 3 or 4 minute match. And it was like almost an hour. The match went like 40 minutes.
And he did a table spot. He took, sledgehammer to the back. He left it all out there. If that was going to be it, he left it all out there. Brett versus Owen, this is another one that's one of my favorites. It sucks that they're both in the first round, but it's the luck of the draw, man. I just remember that iconic superplex off the top of the cage. Just amazing. And this match is underappreciated because of WrestleMania 10. I think WrestleMania 10 is always looked at as the superior match because of it being WrestleMania. But this match is right there. And it's incredible. Great storytelling, using the cage to tell the story of how close Owen was to what you said. But I'm going HBK because it was more impactful. And out of the two, I flipped the coin. No, I didn't flip a coin. HBK returns and moves on because I think that's the more impactful moment.
Love that. Yes, I agree with you on that. So that one will move on. And then we're going to go into our second matchup.
And if you got a problem with it, put it in the chat.
Put it in the chat. All right, our second matchup of the first round. The very first TLC match. This is the Hardys versus the Dudleys versus Edge and Christian for the WWF tag team titles. Up against Shawn versus Razor 2. The second iteration of their ladder match. This time in 1994 at SummerSlam. Again, one of my favorite SummerSlams. Yeah, Eric, you're gonna kick this one off, buddy. Give us a background and give us which one's your winner here.
Yeah, so I'll start with the TLC. It's iconic just because it's the first one, and it showed what all three of those teams could do. You kind of saw a little bit of it, tease of it, at WrestleMania that year, and I just think that this match kind of laid the foundation for what was to come in that series of TLC matches. Shawn versus Razor is another one that I think is overlooked because of the first one. And ironically, it's WrestleMania 10. It's funny. WrestleMania 10 isn't really regarded very high, but those two matches, Brett and Owen and Shawn and Razor, what carried it. And they're still talked about today. But we're not talking about them today. We're talking about Shawn versus Razor 2. Thought it was a good match. And I loved Shawn Michaels in that era. He just won the IC title, and this was his babyface run that started, and I think they both put on a really good show. And for
his first singles babyface run.
Yeah, so for a SummerSlam, that main event kind of fell through the wasn't really up to snuff at the end of the day. This one carried it, but I still think that the TLC match probably has, to me, has more impact and is probably considered, I consider it better, a better match than Shawn and Razor. So I'm going to go with TLC.
Yeah, not too much to dive into here. I think a couple of points here. I mean, the TLC was an industry changer. If we're going Sean Razor 1 versus first TLC match in terms of just industry changing type of matches, maybe that's a tournament concept.
There you go.
My vote might be different, but I have to agree it has to be first TLC. It launched 3 massive Hall of Fame tag team and for a lot of them individual careers. But I will give my flowers to Sean and Razor 2. It's hard for the sequel to live up to the original, particularly when the original is, in terms of what a modern day ladder match is, it is really the original. And they managed to have a different match. So it's important because it did show that not every ladder match has to look the same. And I think that kind of propelled a lot of people to have the creative cogs and wheels moving. Another thing I think is very special and ironic is, Sean having these classic, I know he had lots of matches with Undertaker, but when you look at like an original compared to a sequel, it's like you have Sean and Undertaker, right? 25 and 26. He has had some of the most unbelievable, in an individual feud as it's happening, series of matches with guys that we've ever seen. Some with Jericho. But man, I just look at Sean and Razor, one of the greatest mid-tier or secondary title feuds ever, if not the best. And especially with series of matches. And then again, you go to main event feuds, him and Undertaker, it's top level. It just shows how special Shawn Michaels was as a performer. And Scott Hall is incredible as well. I don't think he gets enough credit because of Shawn and who he is. That match doesn't happen. Those matches don't happen without him. But first TLC is just, it's everything. Yeah. You know what I mean? It brought tag team wrestling back to to a in high demand. So,
yeah.
So that's our advancer here, guys. And again, if you agree or disagree with us, please make sure you guys jump into the chat. Greg chiming in says, "What's up, boys? What's up, Greg?"
What's up?
Hove put all of his winners in, so he has the first TLC.
Okay.
He's got Bulldog, Orton youngest champ, Brock defeats Rock, Paul Bear. He's got some interesting choices. All right. He thinks the first TLC match is the overall winner, by the way. I like that. I'm going to go back and see where we're at with you on this one.
Okay.
But let's move on to our second matchup here, Eric. Bulldog wins the IC title at Wembley versus Becky turns heel. I'm going to start with this one, Eric, by saying I think we know who the winner is going to be, but I don't think it's as obvious as people would think. Because, listen, Bulldog defeating Brett at Wembley, a stadium show, that was a spectacle. That was the first time I can remember that a show felt like a WrestleMania that wasn't a WrestleMania. And for them to main event for the Intercontinental title and the level and quality of match that they put on was tremendous. So, I mean, it's going to be my clear-cut vote on this. I think it put Bulldog on the mat. Even though his memory on how this all went down has changed over the years, Brett, jerk off. This was a big moment for Brett too, who, again, I think this is where we saw Brett pass the torch for the secondary title, got an amazing match out of Bulldog, and Brett kind of started transitioning towards the world title. So huge for him. I don't think this is as obvious, though, as people would lead you to think, because Becky turning heel, this was a moment. Now, she got cheered. The heel turn didn't last, or wasn't as effective as people thought, but this was the launching point of the man. This was the moment where Becky became a main event, a prime time money player, and it launched everything. It was this which kind of slowly catapulted, or maybe not so slowly, because a few months later, she got punched in the face by Nia Jax during a brawl before Survivor Series. But this was the launching point. This is where we started to see her establish her personality, which eventually gets us to where we're at today. And Becky is one of the greatest of all time. She is one of the greatest of all time. I'll tell you what, maybe it's not so obvious for me. I'm going to go Becky here. Because I think that her level that she's reached, people love the Bulldog and we look at him a certain way. I think Becky and her legacy has surpassed his. I do. And this is the launching point of that. Great match for Bulldog. Incredible highlight for the Intercontinental title. I'm not a big Bret Hart guy anyway. So I think it's amazing, but I also think it's a little overrated. People will call this the greatest SummerSlam match. Well, I don't necessarily know if I believe that. So I'm going to go Becky turns heel. I'm going to switch on the fly here.
Okay. So I'll start with Becky. Yeah, I think this moment here, you alluded to her getting cheered, and I think it was the result of Charlotte and that starting of the fatigue of seeing Charlotte win all the time. And I think that helped catapult Becky, where people are just like, can you like do something about it? Like, I think the fans were kind of clamoring for her to kind of stop being the lap dog and you know, show some backbone. And I think that's why you saw cheers from that. And I think I agree with you that I think this catapulted Becky to eventually the man. And I think Becky is phenomenal. And I think she is an absolute star. And I do think that this moment is very iconic into leading up to, it's not that moment's not iconic. What led up to it is iconic, where it led Becky to the promised land and where she is today. If you look at Bulldog, the moment itself is unbelievable. You can't deny that. And you said it yourself that the real winner, I think, was Brett in this because, and we've seen it on numerous documentaries, WWE documentaries, that this was kind of the match that Vince saw Brett as a main event guy and pushed him to the world title picture. I am very partial in that Bulldog moment because of when it is. So my that may cast some, you know, swaying, but I'm still going to stick with Bulldog only winning at Wembley, because I don't think it's hard to name a moment that the fans went absolutely crazy for as much as they did at that moment at Wembley Stadium. I do agree that it's closer than you would seem, because I think this could absolutely win the tournament, Bulldog. And I guarantee you there's people that probably would have it win the tournament. But I don't think it's as much of a landslide as it seems. But I'm going to stick with Bulldog. But Becky turning heel is a very pivotal point in SummerSlam history because of where it went to eventually.
Okay, we got our first tie. I will let everybody know. Looks like we lost the Facebook feed. So we're going to be rolling. It's all good, though. We're still live on YouTube. We're still live on X. It could be storm related. I don't know what happened. It just said there was an error on Facebook. So I apologize. And if anybody jumped over, I apologize for the mistake, or not the mistake, the issue there. It's out of our control. Thank you to Pove, who's now over on the YouTube, for letting us know. Thank you.
Thank you.
And he's dropping his bracket in here.
Awesome.
So appreciate that, Pove.
So do we want to count votes that came in through our other chats? Because I do have some.
I have a vote coming in right now too from Pete, who is our occasional guest co-host. But yeah, we'll combine them all. We'll read them off and see who says what. Pove's putting his in here now, so we'll take his as well. He's probably going to go with Bulldog at Wembley. I think he said there.
So I have one for Bulldog. And that's from Rue.
Okay.
Nick has Bulldog.
Gee, shocker on that.
I know. And Nate has. I don't think we have one for Nate.
So what do we have? So me and you were split. So I think you said what? Is that 2 Bulldog, 1 Becky?
Two Bulldog.
1 Becky.
Who has Becky?
Who read me what you had again?
Oh, Rue has Bulldog and Nick has Bulldog. I don't have any other ones.
Oh, that's the only 2 we got?
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think Nate put anything in.
All right. I'm going to leave it open for the fam in the chat.
Okay.
For a little bit. But as of now, I mean, all those votes count towards it.
Okay.
Hove also has Bulldog at Wembley. So that's 3.
And tonight, I never met you.
So we're going to leave that open for 3 minutes, guys. If anybody gets a vote in. I'm just trying to hit some of our personalities that are on the shows real quick.
Yeah.
Pete says Becky. Thank you, Pete Evans. For the reasoning, kind of similar to what I provided, it's the launching point of the man, which is still going strong and is kind of at the top of all time conversation in terms of personalities, which I know you understand that. You're not.
Yeah, I think if you're going moment itself, if you take out any of the things that happen after on both sides, I think it's clear cut. It's Bulldog. However, if you look at how it springboarded Becky versus how it springboarded Bulldog and to an extent, of course, Brett, I think Becky has the edge there. But it just depends on where you are in that on that fence.
Yeah, I think part of this is for part of it for me too is hindsight.
Mm-hmm.
Who made the most out of the moment, which makes the moment more important, and who squandered the moment more. And unfortunately,
Bulldog, he's out of there by October, and he's
in
WCW 93.
And so to me, that takes away from it. Like I'm trying to remove the nostalgia part of it because I'm with you. That's the era we grew up in. I was 7 when this happened. So I gravitate a lot towards things in the early 90s, that golden era, new generation era.
Of course.
But when I try to do some of this stuff, I try to remove that and I try to be more logical with it. And that's why my instincts told me I got to go Bulldog and Wembley. But as I was talking about it, that's like I said, I literally talked myself out of it because I just think one absolutely took advantage of the situation and is still running at the top of the company. And I know that like the women's roster is not as big, but at the same time, they pump women in and out like Milky Way bars. Like it's like,
Yeah.
and it's just that. Like, so for me, that's kind of where I'm at. So, but as of now, Bulldog is leading, and we'll leave it open for one more minute.
Okay.
I guess unless we get, so that's 3-2, I believe.
Yeah.
So unless we get one more extra vote in the next 30 seconds, we're gonna close the voting on that one.
Okie doke.
So we're gonna go into our next one here. So let you guys think about this over the next 15 seconds. Just to recap so far, the first two that have gone through is HBK's return in 2002. Our first TLC match over Shawn and Razor in 1994. And now our third one that goes through as of right this moment will be Bulldog winning the IC title at Wembley. Our fourth matchup of the first round, Mega Powers defeating the Mega Bucks. This is that is a mistyping on my part. Trying to pump this out fast. Let's correct that. There we go. But this was the main event of the very first SummerSlam. Mega Powers defeat the Mega Bucks in 1988, the first main event of SummerSlam, or Randy Orton becomes the youngest champion, defeating he who is never named, Chris Benoit. For me, it's tough because we're talking launching points. And typically I would say that this should be Randy Orton. But two things. A, I don't find the moment watchable anymore because it's Chris Benoit, and I don't care what other people's opinions are. I understand the situation, the CTE and all. He still killed a child. So to me, it's not watchable anymore. So I can't really, I guess, re-enjoy that moment or feel that moment again. But the other part is Randy Orton's had so many unbelievable moments since then that have just become more and more iconic that I'm the first main event kicks off one of the greatest and most famous feuds of the company, with the Mega Powers defeating the Mega Bucks, and Liz takes off her skirt.
She took off her dress, cover that monsoon.
I love that was the best Superstar Billy Graham commentary ever. Excuse me. But I just think when you look at this, Andy did Becky turns heel because it had more ramifications, and longer lasting, but he's already past the time. So
you lose. Good day, sir.
Damn. But yeah, Mega Powers defeating the Mega, to me, 4 main eventers, right? And then on top of it, it literally, I know you saw the seeds drop even at the end of this, right? Liz takes her skirt off. Then at the end, she jumps into Hogan's arms, and Savage is like, and kind of reluctantly shakes his hand, like, what the hell's going on? Right. And then there is always the Hogan shall pose, which we get with him and Savage. I just think it's more iconic. It's such an important part of one of the biggest feuds in the history of the business that got the business to where it is. Randy Orton had a lot of massive moments after. I think a more iconic SummerSlam moment later in this tournament. So for that alone, I'm going Mega Powers defeating the Mega Bucks.
So Mega Powers, Mega Bucks is the peak of the golden. It's in the peak of the golden era. You've got the two biggest baby faces against the two biggest heels in the company, with Jesse the Body Ventura as the special referee, which made it even more compelling because he's a heel. So of course he's going to side with the heels, but doesn't turn out that way. And, of course, the secret weapon of Elizabeth and what happened there. I just think that it being the first one and that one being just the players involved, it's hard to top that. Orton being the youngest champion, it's forgotten because, of course, you alluded to Benoit, but also he was still trying to find his character at that point. He was in Evolution, and we kind of know what happened there. His title reign wasn't very long. I think it was about a month. And he's out of Evolution and kind of just floundering after that. So although it is his first, it definitely was not his best reign. Not his fault, but just kind of how it worked out. I think they rode the hot hand because Orton was hot, and they took a risk. And it just didn't work out, which is okay. Maybe WWE needs to look at that, what they did then, and take a chance, but we'll talk about that later. But anyway, with that being said, Mega Powers, Mega Bucks moves on.
Agreed. All right. I'm going to let you kick this one off, Eric.
All right.
This one's a very interesting one. This could go, in my opinion, either way. And should strike up a pretty strong debate from anybody. But here we go. Roman's return, 2020. This is COVID SummerSlam. Roman was away for a while due to the high risk of COVID-19, particularly for people with underlying medical health issues, where Roman had to kind of disappear for a while. And this is the relaunch. Going up against Brock, defeats Rock to, at that time, only 2 years later, to be crowned as the youngest world heavyweight champion in company history at that point. Go ahead, Eric. Give us a more detailed explanation. Give us your choice here, my friend.
So Roman returning during the pandemic, which a lot of people kind of shy away from just because of the Thunderdome, and it doesn't look great on TV. It hasn't aged well at all because we're back and there wasn't fans there. It was a tough time. They were trying to do everything under the sun. This moment starts the tribal chief, and him not coming back at this time, who knows what would have happened. But Roman starting his tribal chief and aligning with Heyman shortly thereafter, it got them through the end of the pandemic era, back when, and 4 years of being world champion. It's hard to top that. Brock, you could kind of say the same thing, where him coming in, it kind of reminds you of Obafemi, where this kid comes in and within a few months he's beaten some big stars. He beat Hogan in his first few months. He won King of the Ring very shortly there after his debut. And he became world champion within a matter of months. And it worked out pretty good. I think both moments are very important, but I'm going to go with Roman, even though, the Brock, if it was in another bracket, it probably could advance. But I think the Roman return is just too important and too impactful out of the two to not let it move on. The Brock, if it was in another bracket, it probably could advance. I think the Roman return is just too important and too impactful out of the two. Just stand by here for a few minutes. We're working on some audio issues.
How about now?
Yep, we're good.
All right. Ditch the mic. I'll just use the computer.
Thanks, everybody, for your patience.
All good. Thanks, guys. Brock versus Rock. listen, iconic in and of its own right. It's a special moment. It launches one of the greatest careers in company history. It's a career now that's considered to be defining another future potential icon in Obafemi, right? At that time, Brock Lesnar coming in and having that first year that he had, and to defeat someone of The Rock's level was wild. I mean, he went through Hogan, Angle. I mean, he ran through so many people at that period of time. It's Undertaker, Big Show. It's a who's who. It was defining for him. That being said, Roman Reigns coming back, and this was the launch that everybody wanted. This was the starting point of the Roman Reigns people had begged to see. And then obviously immediately following, Paul Heyman's into the picture. And you're right, this is the birth of the tribal chief, the OTC, who is one of the greats, one of the all-time greats. I think was underrated before this point, but launched one of the greatest long-term storylines in the history of the business. And for that, I think that Roman returning here, and I think this is going to go a lot further than people think. So yeah, I'm with you, Eric. Roman returns here. It's just too special, too important to the company, even to this day. That moment was so important. So yeah, good one there. We're going to move over now to our next first round matchup. HBK versus Hogan, a match we never thought we'd see. 2005, the build-up to this was hilarious. Up against Paul Bearer, turning on The Undertaker following or during the Boiler Room Brawl of 1996. God, Eric, I'll let you kick this one off.
Oh, yes. I turned on you. So, obviously, I have a soft spot for the Boiler Room Brawl. Very shocking moment. Talk about shocking moments at SummerSlam. This is right there. Who would have thought that Paul Bearer would ever turn his back on The Undertaker? But he did. Hit him with the urn right in the head and aligned himself with Mankind. Very shocking moment indeed. HBK Hulk Hogan. Dream match. We saw the build up to it. Shawn turned on Hogan July 4th to set up this match. The match was entertaining. It's known for Shawn overselling everything, which is hilarious. The build up, like Chrome said, was hysterical. The Larry King where Michaels is clinching his back and stuff like that. So the build up was very good and memorable. I'm gonna go with HBK and Hogan because I think that match itself was a very anticipated dream match that we got. Was it the greatest match? No, but it was entertaining. And I think it's remembered more than Paul Bearer turning on Undertaker.
Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite way here because this is the point where, I mean, we always praise The Undertaker and the evolution of the character, particularly in a gimmick like that should not have lasted as long as it did. And part of the success of that character was knowing when to hold them and knowing when to fold them and evolve. And at this point, the decision was made that Paul Bearer wasn't necessarily needed with this character at that time. And it was time for The Undertaker to establish himself as an individual. And it was shocking, very shocking at that moment. It was big for Mick Foley as well, coming out of that, having the guidance of Paul Bear early in his WWE career. I think for people who were, just WWF watchers at that time, when you didn't have all the access to the internet, this having Paul Bear tie himself to him over the Undertaker, I think was a huge moment in their eyes of this guy must be something pretty special if Paul Bear, who's been literally the heart and soul behind the urn of the Undertaker, is turning on him and aligning himself with him. And again, for the Undertaker, we saw an evolution of this character. And this was really almost, this was almost the first evolution of the character, because yeah, he had gray stirrups and gloves and he came back with purple, but that character really didn't change that much. But this is where we saw, a change in attire where, we saw him with, he had the leather for a while, and then he started to kind of change with his look, expand his promo style. I just think this moment, it was so shocking the moment it happened. Like, I still can sit. This is how iconic I think this moment is. We've talked about this. I've started to kind of recollect some of the old WWF magazines. I could still see the magazine of the picture of Paul Bear holding the urn over Undertaker's head as he's knelt in front of him requesting the urn, and Paul Bear hitting him. And it's one of the copies of the magazine I haven't got yet, and I want it so bad because I just think it was so iconic. So for me, this is Paul Bear turns on Undertaker. We got to go to the votes, go to the fam, see what they say. Let me see if we have anything in the comments section here. Ribshot chiming in. Ribshot says, beautiful impression, Eric.
Oh, yes.
Eric is a very good wrestling impressionist. Pove in our chat, as part of his tournament, did do Paul Bear turning. So there's a vote there. I'll reach out to my guys here. What do you have on your end?
This is weird. I don't see I guess it's Paul Bear.
Okay.
Yeah. And Rue had. Come on. Rue had Paul Bear.
Okay.
I can't. Shock value. It's right up there. That HBK Hogan match, even though it's not the greatest match ever, but it's still memorable in that there are two icons that got in there, and it wasn't a terrible match. It just was. It was what it was.
Listen, it was a fun match. I think it's iconic in and of its own right. It's why it's on the list.
Yeah.
And for our generation to see that match, particularly, I do laugh about it, right? Because it was like Bret Hart talking about how much he shits on Hogan. And then the irony of it is like, he does do a main event, but it's not with Bret. He does it with his arch rival, Shawn Michaels. That's something that stands out in my mind. But again, it's a match we never thought we would see. It wasn't Hogan's best. Shawn, I think, made him look pretty good in it. Some people have taken shots at him for over or underselling. There you go. You got another HBK Hogan vote there. Thank you, Ribshot.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Yeah. But I just it's fun for us, but if I'm looking in the grand scheme of things, I just think the Undertaker, this was literally the first big moment of the Undertaker as he evolved outside of the Paul Bear character. So, and again, it really launched two Hall of Fame careers. So
it's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
I didn't think of the impact of Foley in that. So I kind of,
You can always
I get
change
it.
your vote, buddy. You're sticking to
let's
it.
go ahead and change it then. We got,
Yeah.
you talked a little bit.
All right.
Sorry,
all right.
brother.
Sorry,
It
brother.
doesn't work for me, brother.
All right. We got Paul Bearer turning on The Undertaker, advancing. And then I'll kick us off on this one. This is one of my favorite SummerSlam, well, two of my favorite SummerSlam moments ever. But we have Daniel Bryan finally winning the world title. Special guest, he defeats John Cena. Special guest referee Triple H, who then post-match pedigrees Daniel Bryan, and we hear the music hit. Randy Orton shows up, Money in the Bank in hand, turns it in. Hunter aligns with him, and we have the Authority, baby. They're back.
Ring it. Ring it.
Ring it. And Randy Orton immediately steals it away. Daniel Bryan is a champion for about 2 minutes, maybe 3. And Randy Orton becomes the champion. Again, this starts the build or the road, or I guess it throws a little gasoline on the fire to the road to one of the most iconic WrestleMania moments and main events, which would be WrestleMania 30 that following April. And then we have Cena versus Punk. This is another huge match. This is like the sequel. I mean, they had many matches, but this is kind of the sequel to their Money in the Bank match. This is Punk. For anybody who doesn't remember, Punk at Money in the Bank defeats John Cena. His contract is end. This is right after the pipe bomb, right? The pipe bomb's part of that. Punk takes the title. He leaves. He goes home. He's taking pictures with the title in the fridge. He's taking it with him everywhere. Eventually, he comes back. And at this time now, they have already crowned a new champion in John Cena. So there's a controversy. This is similar to the WrestleMania 10 ladder match. There's a little bit of a controversy in who's the real world champion, because CM Punk never actually gave it away. CM Punk re-signed his contract, obviously, and he comes back. So, again, this is funny these two end up together. CM Punk ends up retaining his title here, or I guess reestablishing himself as the undisputed champion. And then we have Kevin Nash come out. And Kevin Nash gets involved to set up an angle that we never actually saw happen with CM Punk. And following that, Alberto Del Rio, he jackknife powerbombs Punk. And then Alberto Del Rio comes out, cashes in his Money in the Bank, and leaves the event as the world champion. So a great match again between Cena and Punk, and I think that in and of its own is made it special. Having the Money in the Bank cash in, be a part of this, which is something we saw kind of almost become a staple of SummerSlam after this for a while. This is the first time we saw it at SummerSlam. But I think, am I right? Didn't Sheamus cash in at SummerSlam, or am I wrong about that?
I think that was a Survivor Series.
Maybe it was Survivor Series. But we've had obviously a number of Money in the Bank cash-ins here at SummerSlam. It's a sentimental favorite because of Kevin Nash, and I just love the story of how it was supposed to set something up we never got. It was a fun time to be a WWE fan at that point. It was fairly good. But for me, the launching point of one of the greatest angles ever, or builds to a WrestleMania main event, Randy Orton. This is prime Randy Orton, Triple H in that relationship. You know, the authority figure thing kind of wore its welcome out and then was back in and out and this and that. But at this moment, it was shocking. You know, you have that high of Daniel Bryan defeating John Cena, and then to have Triple H take it away and Randy Orton take it away. It was a gut punch, and it was so memorable for that. So for me, I go Bryan wins, Orton cashes in at Money in the Bank.
Okay. So I'll start with the Brian wins, Orton cashes in. I think people forget how good that Brian Cena match really was. It was really good. If you haven't watched it in a while, I would go back. It's very, very good. And of course, the extreme shock value of Hunter after putting a stamp of approval on Daniel Bryan, decides to turn on him, and out comes Randy Orton. And it's still shocking and talked about to this day. Cena versus Punk isn't talked about as much. It's very iconic, and it's because of Punk's situation, where Chrome alluded his, he left and came back, and now you have two champions. So that was really cool, and that's something that I don't think ever happened before or after, where you had two champions unifying, for the title. So it's unique. And the Kevin Nash stuff, I always thought that was out of left field. It was really weird.
I don't know why I loved it so much.
I liked it too, and I would have loved to see a Punk Kevin Nash match. Don't get me wrong. It's just now looking at it, it's like what were they gonna do? And then I know eventually I think it went to like he turned on Hunter, and then they were supposed to do something with Hunter and Nash, and then that never happened either. So just really strange how all that played out. And then even stranger is Del Rio cashing in Money in the Bank, and we kind of know he's a leper now. So I think for that reason, I gotta go with the Orton cash in over that one. Even though a lot of memorable stuff there, but I don't think it's as memorable as the Orton cash in, especially Daniel Bryan. He was the underdog and finally got it, and he has it for a second, and then it's great storytelling. It's taken away from him like that, and then we see the payoff at WrestleMania. So I go with that one.
Yeah, agreed. Let's see. We're going to move on. Our final first round matchup. And I'm going to let you kick us off on this one. Match Made in Heaven, 1991. So special.
I love these.
And the custody of Dominic. Like, again, guys, this is all like random. And obviously they're just the idea of these is so like polar opposite ends of stuff. It's almost like a marriage leading to a divorce in custody. Like if you're just like burying them next to each other. But
I'm disappointed that the Match Made in Hell didn't make it. But because you have to have a match made in hell if you're going to have a match made in heaven,
You thank the Warrior for that, for holding the company up for money.
Dude, crazy. That's a story for another day.
Yeah.
But we kind of know what the Match Made in Heaven was. If you don't, it's the wedding of Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth. And then we saw the reception afterwards where the Cobra comes out and Jake the Snake and all that good stuff. Great moment. Great stuff leading up to it. The proposal is iconic, as we alluded to earlier. The custody of Dominic, something that we will probably never, ever see again. A ladder match for the custody of a child. I think we'll ever see that again. One of a kind in that. And that was just amazing storytelling. I wonder who I don't know if they ever talked about it on Bruce's podcast on who came up with this concept, but I think it's so ridiculous. It's incredible. Because it's an actual match, I gotta advance custody of Dominic. I love Macho Man and Liz. And I love the moment. It closed out SummerSlam 91. But I have to go with custody of Dominic because to me, it just had it's just, and yeah, we've seen weddings since, but we haven't seen a custody of anybody on a pole match ever again. So we're going custody of Dominic here.
Yeah, listen. I am pleasantly surprised that you did that, Eric. And not that I didn't think you would recognize the specialness in the custody of Dominic, but again, you're like me, tugs at the heartstrings, match made in heaven.
Oh, of course.
It was so special, so iconic. Elizabeth, will
When you came
marry
into my
me?
life,
Oh
I
my
realized.
God, it's the best. I love it.
I will never sing on this podcast
Never
ever
felt
again.
like
So if you missed it,
this
that's it.
before.
Yeah.
my God,
Oh,
so good.
gosh.
Listen,
Together.
it's so like late 80s, early 90s. It's tremendous. And it's iconic. It is iconic. But that being said, I'll tell you why the custody of Dominic I'm going to elaborate even more on what you said. You're right. It's such a unique concept of things. But I'm going to even take it a step further.
Okay.
That is still a relevant storyline.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Happens
of
every
Dom
day.
Mysterio now, 21 years later.
Oh, that, yeah.
They have utilized it as a part of the story of the breakup. And look at Dom's shirt he was wearing this week on Raw. It had a picture of Eddie and Ray and him from this angle. It has become a part of the Dominic Mysterio character in 2026. Like, he literally says he's been a professional since 2005. And the fact that this has to be one of the craziest creative stories in the history of pro wrestling, because they couldn't have thought that this would have the life that it's had.
No.
Like, it had to be one of those, it's ridiculous, but we can get it over and have an amazing match out of it, which is all happened. But the life that it has, to where in 2026, that actual storyline is still going, is unbelievable. I think this thing could go far in this tournament because of how shocking it is that it is so relevant to this day, 21 years later.
Yeah. And don't forget Vicky Guerrero making her kind of in-ring presence felt for the first time when she cost Eddie the match.
Absolutely. It's wild to me. So yeah, no, I am 100%. I have to tip the cap here. I gotta give it.
Man. How dare you?
I gotta give the. I'm with you. I gotta give it to the custody of Dominic.
You were waiting on the vote. You were like, Arch is picking. Arch is a lover,
bro,
not a fighter.
I was this close to just sending the text out to our people who we confide in if we tie. Just ahead of time, I feel like we're gonna end up tying on this. When you said, I was like so happy, like I really was. Like, again, not that I don't think you understand the impact of that, but it's just like you're like me. It tugs at the heartstrings.
That's the first SummerSlam I ever watched live was '91. So
same.
It's got a place. It does. Sorry, Mach. Sorry, Liz, but. Dominic.
Sorry, Match. So as I prepare our little banners that are going to pop up here.
I'm your father, Dominic.
Dominic, I'm your father.
Is it true? Is it really true?
It's so good. It's so ridiculous that it's so good.
But it's so relevant. Now, I thought you were alluding to it's still relevant in every day. Like, people are fighting for custody. Nobody's fighting.
I wasn't going there.
Nobody's fighting for custody in a wrestling ring with the custody up on top of ascending a ladder.
They're not having ladder matches out.
Maybe they need to do that. Maybe it'll help the court systems out a little bit.
Maybe it could. Before we get to the second round, let's pop our honorable mentions up. Let's have a quick conversation about this.
Okay.
So again, lots of moments to consider. We were well beyond the 16 that were selected. But here, I don't need to. These are other famous matches / moments and angles. Honorable mention, we had Nikki turning on Brie Bella. 2014, Warrior ends Honky Tonk Man's streak in 1988, the first SummerSlam. Brock squashing Cena in 2014. Damage Control's debut in 2022. Cena and Styles 2016, one of my favorite matches ever. Owen breaks Austin's neck. That was 97, I believe. I can't see because this bottom line here. The Fiend debuts in 2019, and The Undertaker versus Undertaker 1994. Eric, share a few thoughts on these special events here.
You know, one that I forgot, Brock returning in 2021. Remember after the Cena Roman match, and the place just went nuts. He had been gone for quite a while. That's one I is an honorable mention, I think, as well. But I mean,
see, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, I was wondering, just looking at moments and just thinking about it, it's like I know Brock came back on one of these SummerSlams, but yeah, he did. Well, he did come back too at didn't he come back at last year at SummerSlam after Cody and Cena. So he's done that a couple times at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I mean, depending on what your flavor of ice cream is, any of these could be interchanged with something. But I mean, it just goes to show that SummerSlam just had some amazing moments. Some big, some not so big, but memorable. You could easily say that Warrior, was made here as a big name just because he beat the Honky Tonk Man streak. Honky Tonk Man was the longest reigning IC champion of all time.
Yeah.
And he was beaten in a matter of seconds. I mean, how much more shocking do you get where a sister turns on their sister? And when did you ever think, and shout out to Rue here, where we argued about Undertaker versus Undertaker, because he had access to dirt sheets when he was in 8th grade. And he was like, SummerSlam's going to be Undertaker versus Undertaker. And I said, no, it's not. What are you talking about? And yeah, he was right.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of great moments here. Some unfortunate ones, with Austin, unfortunately, his career was kind of shortened there because of that. And then of course the late Bray Wyatt debuting his iconic Fiend gimmick and pretty much decimating Finn Balor in the process. But yeah, a lot of great moments here. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Owens breaking Austin's neck, it kind of, it depends on your perspective. Like, obviously you don't want to see somebody have their neck get injured, but part of what is ironic about that is I don't know that Austin's peak, even though we had the Austin 316, the shirt and the evolution of that, this actually kind of, oddly enough, that time away from the ring where he was able to still be on TV and develop his character more, it almost in a weird way launched him even further. So it shortened his career, but I think it accelerated him to his peak.
It's a great point.
So it's a weird thing, but it is iconic regardless of if it's
they knew he was red hot and they kept him on TV, which you can say that about like anybody that you've seen hurt over the last several years, like a Seth Rollins or Braun Breaker or whoever. Austin had the capability to stay on TV and be relevant. And for that, I agree with you. It would have worked, but it wouldn't have worked anywhere near it wouldn't have became what it became without that stretch of time where he was on the sidelines. He was stunning people. He was,
Yeah.
that started the Mr. McMahon character.
Yeah.
Basically, that whole saga.
Yeah. Warrior ending Honky Tonk Man streak. You're right. That's the launching point for the Warrior. That gets us to WrestleMania 6. And that streak, guess what? That Honky Tonk Man reign lasted up until very recently when Gunther broke his reign. So Nikki turning on Brie, I think, is a underrated moment, but I do think that people do recognize the shock factor of that happening. The Bella twins were such a staple of the company, and for Nikki to turn on her sister and join, or to help out Stephanie McMahon at that point to advance herself further, I think helped her career quite a bit. It also kind of helped build Nikki's, I guess, direction of where her career went, where she was kind of the underdog, much like her husband. So I think it was a really important moment. Obviously, Damage Control, unfortunately, Dakota Kai's not with the company now. I think that they may have dropped the ball on her. We don't know what's going on with Bayley, and we're going to talk about that briefly at the end of this show. But huge for all three of them. It did give Bayley a rebirth for a while. And Io Sky is, maybe arguably the best women's wrestler in the world right now. So she's main eventing this year's SummerSlam. Brock squashing Cena was an absolute shock. Shock. Cena and Styles, I've already touched on. Undertaker, it's a personal favorite of mine. Even the build-up with Leslie Nielsen. Pizza. Like, it's just so good. For anybody who was involved, the Naked Gun fans, it was just, there was something entertaining about it. And it was ridiculous.
It was hokey, but it worked.
Yes, it was very hokey, but it worked. I had a hard time pulling the Fiend debuts off of the initial list, and I'll tell you why. Obviously, there are down moments of the Fiend character that were very low lights. Obviously, the Seth Rollins match. But taking that out, I remember that year, and this is a personal thing with me, I had friends over. I usually do a SummerSlam party. Now, I haven't the last couple years because SummerSlam has been the day I come back from Florida. I take my vacation. So when they moved it kind of later in August, the last few years, it's been tough because it's always the same weekend I'm away. But when I did that year, I had like 20 people at my house. And I had a projector screen on the side of my house that was about 85, 90 inches. It was huge. Probably more than that. Probably 100-inch projector screen. And we all watched it outside. And Pete, I think, was actually there. Pete Evans.
Nice.
I had friends who weren't wrestling fans that were like, you know what? I don't love wrestling, but I'll come over, hang out. Pool party sounds fun. I'll stay and watch. I mean, my friends who aren't wrestling fans were completely entranced in that moment of seeing this character, and they're like, what is that?
Extremely unique.
Yeah, and the presentation, and like, they went away and they were like, I think I'm going to start watching just for that guy. And so it was a moment that it was a character that was so different that I think it was short-lived. It sounds like there was going to be a return of this character at some point. That was kind of evolutionized in and of its own right. So it's a shame that we didn't get to see that. I don't know if you saw that. I think Bo, or maybe the Mask Maker, or somebody showed like an updated mask that Bray intended to bring back, which is a shame because I love the Fiend. My niece and nephew loved the Fiend character. So I just thought that was such a special, unexpected moment for Bray. It was a highlight, and it was something that we've never seen before and may never see again.
Agreed.
They tried to with the Wyatt Six, but there's nothing like the original. And so that was of all of these, surprisingly, Eric, that was the hardest one just because I saw firsthand how that moment pulled people who weren't wrestling fans into wrestling.
Yeah.
So rest in peace to Bray and obviously Owen, Warrior, and all them who are on this list. But that's our honorable mention, guys. And, good stuff.
Where is Tatanka turning on Lex Luger at, Chrome?
Well, I told you that SummerSlam 94 is one of my favorite SummerSlams.
Is he too busy scalping tickets?
Scalping tickets. That was great. You had Walter Payton a part of that SummerSlam 94.
Yeah, it was in a time, in an era that isn't really looked at very highly. That show was very good.
Pove says Cena versus Styles was awesome. I would have voted for the Fiend debut. Yeah, maybe that's one I missed the boat on by not putting on there. I've been curious to see how far that goes. I just don't know what to pull off of the initial list. So anyway, let's take a look here. So we're going to move into our second round.
All right.
Our first matchup of the second round. So these rounds we should fly through since we kind of really already deep dive, unless we have such a disagreement that we need to really debate it. So for me, TLC match has to trump Brett and Owen. Again, wonderful matchup between Brett and Owen. But the TLC match to me is 100% has to move on here.
I agree because of we talked about earlier the impact of how many more after that.
Wait. My fault. I got this wrong. Jeez Louise, I'm a mess. It was Shawn Michaels' return. I stand by my vote.
Oh, it was Shawn's return versus Brett and Owen?
Yeah, I'm a mess. But I stand by my vote. I still think the TLC match was so revolutionary. We're still seeing it. Had its own pay-per-view. I think that takes the cake on this one. Sorry, we're fixed. Yeah, first TLC match is my winner.
Yeah, as much as I love Shawn's return and I love the story behind it, I have to agree. TLC.
Yeah. So simple enough on that one. Let's go on to our second round matchup. Bulldog winning the IC title at Wembley against the Mega Powers, defeating the Mega Bucks. Same thing here. I didn't vote for it in the first round. I'm not going to vote for it in the second round. And again, if I'm going to go by my logic I gave in the first one, big moment for Bulldog. It's the high point of his career. It only went downhill from there. Mega Powers defeating the Mega Bucks was so important to one of the biggest feuds in the history of professional wrestling with two of the biggest names in the history that I need to go Mega Bucks defeating the Mega Powers defeating the Mega Bucks in the very first SummerSlam.
I have to agree with you. I think it's hard to top the first in this because it set up it was part of the story of the Mega Powers and how they were going to start exploding. And the fact that Andre's in this and he didn't work many SummerSlams. I don't know if he worked SummerSlam. He probably worked 89. I just don't know what match. I can't think of it on the top of my head, but I'm sure he didn't work very many. So for that, having that icon in that match, kind of still being able to go. And then of course, it being the first SummerSlam, I'm going to move that forward.
Now you got me curious, so I'm going to pull up 89's card. It'll take me 2 seconds here. Let's see. So Andre, he was in a 6-man in 1989.
Oh.
Jim Duggan and Demolition defeat Andre the Giant and the Twin Towers. Hakeem, and Big Boss Man.
Okay.
So
So
now
he
I'm
wasn't
curious.
with Haku yet.
No, that was 1990.
Right, but I mean, like, leading up to, because it's summer of 89, so, like, it must have been in the fall.
And obviously he was not a part of
He wasn't in
1990.
90. I know 91. Didn't he come out with, he came out with the Bushwhackers, maybe? Or was that?
He did 90. I know he wasn't a part of 90 because that year at WrestleMania was Andre's final match at WrestleMania
Yeah.
6. He never had another match, or at least another WWE match after that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. He did come out with the Bushwhackers. I want to say either 90 or 91, maybe.
I think it was 91.
That was when I think he had crutches, right?
Yes.
Let's see. We got Hove giving 100% on there. All right. Our next matchup of the second round. Roman returns versus Paul Bearer turns on the Undertaker. I'm going to let you kick this one off.
Again, shock value. It's 100% Paul Bearer turning on Undertaker. 1996 Arch did not see this coming. I'm sure 1996 Chrome didn't see this coming.
Nope.
Roman Reigns returning, you didn't know where he was coming from at that point. And we didn't know what eventually was going to happen. So if you look at the moment itself, it's got to be Paul Bearer turning on the Undertaker, but and Roman returning, I mean, it's so hard to pass that one up just because of how iconic and impactful that was to what was to come. Roman returns.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with you on that. Just because of where Roman is at today. And
Yeah.
this is the exact moment that Roman needed in his career. So yeah, simple enough. Roman returns, that one moves on. And our final second round matchup, Daniel Bryan wins, Orton cashes in Money in the Bank, or the custody of Dominic.
I want to vote for custody of Dominic. I do. And I'm not. I think the story of Daniel Bryan and that whole summer, fall up to WrestleMania, and I know you're going to, it's still going on today, the custody of Dominic stuff, but I think more people still talk about Orton cashing that in. I don't think as many people talk about the custody of Dominic unless you're a real diehard like us. I'm going to go with the cash in. I think you're going to go the other way.
I'm not. No, I'm going to go to cash in as well. No.
Okay.
Custody of Dominic, again, so important now. Maybe if Dominic's a world champion, I might look at it a little bit differently, but we're not quite there yet. I think if we do this tournament 5 years from now, this could move even further. But Bryan winning, Orton cashing in, and honestly, it's the matchup too. To me, Bryan winning, again, such a huge moment in this story.
Yeah.
Advancing to a top 2 or 3 for WrestleMania moment. You just can't deny that Bryan moving on here is what needs to happen. Bryan and Orton cashing in. And again, it's another thing that added to the Randy Orton legacy as well. So I'm going to take a quick minute, update our next graphic here. Like I said, Eric, I do think if this 5 years from now, or maybe not even that far, a couple years from now, we might be having a whole different conversation on where the custody of Dominic, as ridiculous as it sounds, we might literally be having an entirely different conversation on this. All right. So we are down to our final four of our 16 iconic moment tournament.
Dun, 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 dun.
Our first matchup. The first TLC match, and the Mega Powers defeat the Mega Bucks.
I think it depends on what era you were born in, what you lean towards here. Do you lean towards golden era or modern era? And there's no wrong answer. There really isn't. But I think at the end of the day, wrestling had to change. Wrestling was at a point where it was good. We were coming out of the Attitude Era, and we needed something new and fresh. I think the TLC did that. So I'm going to go with TLC.
I agree. Yeah, no, I agree. Hogan, Savage, that combination is so important to the business. But again, the tag team division in professional wrestling at that point was dead. And the TLC was such a game changer. And the launch of 6 Hall of Fame careers.
Yeah.
That it's undeniable of its place.
I think to that point too, the 4 guys in the 88 SummerSlam match were already Hall of Famers, and we're going to be Hall of Famers no matter what happened, if that match happened or not. That the TLC match, not the case.
Yeah, no. And this also was, we talk about launching points. This launched us to an iconic WrestleMania TLC match. So it's, I just think it's one of those things that stands the test of time for people. Even up until recently, when Devon Dudley called it a day and they faced the Hardys. They referenced this match at TNA. So, I agree. It's got to be the first TLC match. Moving on to the finals. Who's going to go against it? All right, we got Roman Reigns returns. This is a tough one. And then Bryan wins, Orton cashes in at Money in the Bank. 2020 versus 2013. I'm going to listen to what you have to say because I'm kind of back and forth on this one.
I am too.
So,
both deserve to move on, but only one can. Who will survive?
Ripshot thought the Mega Power should have won.
It's hard because I think
Ripshot, you don't remember either of these? Roman Reigns returning after he had to go home because of COVID, and that literally was
he interfered so he came in after it was Fiend versus Braun Strowman, right, for the Universal
Fiend versus
title.
Braun Strowman, yeah, and and it was a COVID one, but this is literally the moment that the OTC was born. So unless you're not watching currently, which maybe is a thing, it's hard to not remember this moment in professional wrestling. And Daniel Bryan defeating John Cena and then Triple H screwing him and Randy Orton cashing in after, and he lost the title in like 3 minutes.
I will say that to defend the 2020 stuff, I have to give a pass because of the COVID stuff.
Sure.
It was very that era was just really just like I said earlier, just some of it was tough to watch. Some of it was, I think people tuned out. They did the best they could with what they had. And I think it was at a moment where it was just kind of like just there. But the impact cannot be withstood there where where it went to. I think that one I would give a pass just because that era is just really, really strange. The Orton cashing in, I mean, that's a very iconic moment, and it's I'm going with that. That's I think I decided that moment was just like it was perfect.
That was another surprise.
Your hero he beat John Cena clean in the ring. He beat him clean, which you didn't see a lot of. He beat John Cena clean in the middle of the ring. And then you think, he's the guy. And then, no, he's not. And it starts a completely different story.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you on that. And you just didn't see it coming. The story going up to it, right? Because everybody knew the ties from the Total Divas stuff and the Nikki and Brie stuff going on, right? There was like a real life tie and then a reality show tie to it, but it became a thing where the ultimate face of the company, John Cena, basically was saying Daniel Bryan's a B+ player, and he beat him clean in the ring, like beat the guy, only for 3 minutes later for the man who, by the way, just counted the 3 for you to beat the guy to kick you in the stomach, in the abdomen, pedigree you, and leave you laying so that his choice to run his company or to be the face of his company could come out and steal it from you. You worked that hard to prove yourself to John Cena and everybody else that you belong, only to have it ripped from you. And it led up to the greatest WrestleMania moment maybe ever, at least the top 3 or 4. And for that, this is where the COVID Thunderdome aspect does hurt it. I think if this was a crowd, I would have gone Roman. But the reaction, and I actually just watched this moment not that long ago, that crowd went on a roller coaster with the Bryan win, Orton cash in. So I will go Bryan wins, Orton cashes in on this. Other thing you said, I actually think that stuff is much better to watch than you would initially think. It's weird to see the screens again if you go back and rewatch that stuff. But yeah,
I think in the moment it's kind of like they were trying to do the best they could with what they had. Like I said, it's like I don't know if people wanted to watch it like that at that time. I think they were struggling to doing the best they could.
Rib Shot says, I think of the Mega Power as winning. Liz Macho Wedding. So what else say in this? Outside of the Demon winning the Universal title, which was kind of an honorable mention. The reason it's not on there is because he had to relinquish it the next day and he's done nothing since then. So unless you're a hardcore Finn Balor fan, I don't think that moment has any significance to SummerSlam other than the first Universal Champion, which didn't last. But it's not a bad thing, but this shows what me and Eric were talking about is our, tendency to go with what we grew up with or our nostalgia. But when we're doing this and we're having if we were going to do that, it would be all 1980s and 1990s stuff. We're just not going to do that. So we have to be honest and open and have the conversation about the significance of everything else. All great moments. That's why they're all on there, except for the Demon winning the Universal title, which again, love the moment. I'm a Balor guy, but if I'm saying what was most important to the history of SummerSlam, it's a blip in the radar. It's not even really up there. So I don't know if you want to follow up with anything on that, Eric, but I love Rib Shot's one of my favorite peeps.
And I think, it may be unfair, but it is the foreshadowing of what happened immediately thereafter. He got injured and didn't get a chance to hold the title long or again, for that matter, which is such a travesty. I can't believe we're sitting here in 2026 and Finn Balor hasn't had a world title reign since that moment. That's a crime. I think that kind of plays into it as well. And it's not right, but I think it's not remembered because that was 10 years ago. When was that? 2017, 2016? It was about 10 years, it was about a decade ago, I think. But it's been a while ago, let's just say that. But I think that plays into it too, where a lot of people probably have forgotten that he even had the Universal title.
That was 2016.
So
Yeah, and so the other aspect of it I have to look at is like, I think people our age look at like and like hardcore people look at things like Liz and Macho Man winning as more significant than most people would, or not winning, the wedding. Like we look at it fondly. Yeah. There's a lot of people who really don't know that even happened. You know what I mean? Like you have to have been a hardcore watcher at that time. So, I'm not trying to poke holes, but obviously Warrior was what it was. It was a big moment. I don't even know if it's a top 10 moment. Bulldog beating Brett, great moment. It made it out of the first round, but that was literally the peak of Bulldog. He fell off after he was gone from the company right after. So cool moment. But controversially, we had a debate of it getting out of the first round.
You can interchange a bunch of these and it wouldn't be wrong answers. It's just preference. It's your cup of tea, whatever your flavor ice cream is. Like I said earlier, do you like chocolate? Do you like vanilla, strawberry? Like that's why there's so much to choose from, because you've had this event for almost 40 years. You've had 39. This will be the 39th incarnation of SummerSlam. So you have plenty to choose from, and it's hard to even narrow it down to a tournament like this. It's difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I'm just getting our little graphic here. So this is going to be our final round here. So this is our final round matchup. This is going to determine who wins this tournament. Let me get this other bracket off. Okay. Advancing to our final choices here. We have the final two iconic moments. First TLC match in 2000, or Bryan wins, Orton cashes in Money in the Bank 2013. Eric, I'm going to let you cast the first vote.
Both could absolutely be the top moment. Absolutely. 1 and 2, 1 and 1A. But I'm going to go with my personal choice, because that's the only thing I can kind of narrow it down to, because they're both equally iconic. They both are memorable moments and they're very different. One paved the way for tag team wrestling and table TLC matches and those types of matches from then on in for the last 25 plus years. Then you have this other moment where it's iconic in a moment of 8 or 9 months. I think because of longevity, I keep going back and forth on this. It's so hard. I'm going to go with TLC because of how much longer it impacted the business. Because I don't think, as iconic as the Orton cash-in is, it didn't change the business any way. It was just characters there that were over at the time and made a shocking and iconic moment. The TLC match was iconic in the moment, but it also made more iconic moments for decades. if that makes sense.
Yeah. Listen, I agree. I think we have our winner of this tournament. It's the first TLC match. A lot of the reasons you said, Brian, this launched a Hall of Fame career for that individual. And one of the greatest storylines, one of the greatest underdog stories, one of the greatest main events that we ever had in WrestleMania history. But the TLC changed the industry, point blank period. It launched 6 Hall of Fame careers. It changed tag team wrestling. It changed the way tag team wrestling is viewed. We've seen TLC matches utilized for individuals and not just in tag team wrestling at that point. Other companies have come up with their own versions of this. It's just such an iconic moment in the business. And there's a lot of them. You know, Rip Shot throwing out more here. Shane falling off the scaffolding. Jesse Ventura returning. Jesse returning is fine, but he's like a polarizing figure. It's hard for me to say something's iconic when some people love him and some people don't. But
I say it's memorable if you watched it at that time. Like in 2026, if somebody's watching that and they see Jesse Ventura, like they're probably, like, to Chrome's point, they're probably like, they probably only know him based on the way he is, the person he is now, not Jesse the Body who wrestled in the 70s and 80s, and he's not that guy anymore.
Yeah, see, I'm not a big
it was a cool moment because it was the
yeah.
SummerSlam was in Minneapolis. He was the governor of Minnesota. I think that in itself was memorable and pretty cool, or pretty earth-shattering for the time, because you have a sitting governor as a special guest referee of a main event of SummerSlam. But I don't think it's an iconic moment that people remember. I think we know, but I don't think in the scheme of things, it's something that people are looking at. Oh my God, that's the greatest moment in SummerSlam history, or even in a tournament. I think there's more memorable moments than that.
Listen, I like to think, and I think we prove it on this show, that we have a very vast knowledge of wrestling, and we can call out dates and events and years and matches and opening matches, this and that. I didn't even remember about the Jesse Ventura thing until I looked up lists to kind of solidify. Because again, part of all of this here, guys, is like we come up with these things, we brainstorm, and then we kind of do our research, right? What is considered an iconic thing? What gets people talking? Because we want to make sure, A, we're not forgetting something, or it's just my list that I'm presenting to you, right? So what is consensus? I will tell you, I never even thought of the Jesse Ventura. I had to see a top 50 list. Most of them were like 20, 15, 25. It took a top 50 list for me to even find the Jesse Ventura returning thing pop up. I completely forgot about it. I just don't think it's that iconic of a moment. I don't even really like Jesse. He was great with Monsoon on commentary as a kid, but I've never really been a big fan of him as a person. I think he's a little strange. And I just, like, I'm bored. Like, I've tried to watch his matches as a performer, and I can watch that old stuff. I find him very boring. So maybe that's because I was like a Hogan guy, and maybe he was like the Timu Hulk Hogan or something. I'm not into Jesse Ventura. So I don't, and not many people I know are, and who are hardcore fans. So I just think he's a flavor. If he's either your flavor or he's not.
Another moment like we talked about the 90s, and I'd be foolish to not bring up this match. And I know you're not a Bret Hart fan, but there are some good 90s matches with Bret Hart. The match with Undertaker at 97 with Shawn Michaels as the referee, that's a memorable moment. And also Bret and Mr. Perfect. And those matches are staples to 90s SummerSlam. They are, but they're, and I say this during those matches, and I love Heart Foundation and Demolition at SummerSlam 90. But I know those moments are not iconic in the scheme of 39 years of SummerSlam.
So Rib Shot, that is not even close to the same thing. You're talking about Hogan slamming Andre. You can make that because he's a polar. That's not the same. That's not the same conversation. I'm saying people can send. Jesse Ventura is not some guy who's like over, like by anybody outside of like the 70s and early 80s. Like he's just not. I don't know anybody in my lifetime. I'm 41. Who has said to me, I've always been such a huge Jesse Ventura fan. Like ever. Hogan changed the industry. So it's like that's not even like close to the same conversation. You know,
when you think of wrestling,
I think it's great that moment's special for you.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to like knock it down, but like there's so many moments on the list and our honorable mention list, if you guys got to see, because I saw some of your other things you put on here, like Brock, Squash, and Cena. We had that on the honorable mention list, just outside of it. HBK's return match made it to the second round of this tournament. Shane falling off the scaffolding, it could have maybe been on the list. Again, I don't think that stands the test of time for anyone who didn't, unless you watched then.
I love
it's not
Shawn
something they
Martel.
show on TV.
I love Shawn and Rick Martel from SummerSlam 92, where they couldn't punch each other in the face. Freaking awesome.
Yeah. 2
heels.
Yeah. And I love that moment. I think that moment's awesome with Shane falling off the scaffolding. But again, like we have to have an open mind here and understand that there's going to be things on this list that are outside of not just like my personal preference. So when we come up with our list and then we match our list up with what all these publications, both wrestling journalists and major publications have compiled over the last, I probably looked at 8 lists published over the last 6 years from major sites.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that we could say. I loved Walter Payton with Razor Ramon in 1994. Should not be on the list. Just shouldn't. You know?
But that's what's great about this show. You can express your opinions on what you like and what you don't like, you know, and we're always open to opinions, and we love it. Keep it coming, man. It's great.
Rib, we got you, brother. That's why I said, like, I'm not necessarily saying you're saying these are the favorite moments, right? But if
Chrome wouldn't let me put more Bret Hart matches on it. That's why this list is so biased. I tell you,
I was this close to putting Hart. I was this close to putting Heart and Soul on there, and then I was like, nah, fuck that. Bret Hart ain't on this list again. Thing is, Rib Shot, right? And we love that. That's the whole thing, right? It's agree to disagree. It's a debate show. So when you bring up an event, we're going to discuss it. Why we love the suggestion, why we disagree with the suggestion. That's the whole point of the show. So, we're not knocking you for it. That's why I said love that those are moments that you maybe look at as more iconic. But I have to explain why those aren't on the list, because somebody might say to me, yeah, why isn't it on the list?
Yeah,
you know
keep
what I mean?
contributing, man. I love this. This is good. This is good conversation. Yes, come back we got to talk about Jamie Drysdale extensions, baby.
Yeah,
Let's
Flyers
go.
fans, yes, both the boys here on A2D Radio, they will be having Flyers Talk A2D tonight. By the way, Poe, if you're still in here, make sure you guys let me know next time you take a week off. It was like 2 weeks. I had no idea, and I'm promoting your show, which is good, but when I'm telling people to stay tuned, and they are, and it looks bad. Appreciate that, Poe. Love you, brother. I love you. Love all you guys for commenting in on this stuff.
Yeah, much appreciated.
Here's the one in the early show. See, that's one. I think it was an oversight.
Yeah, it's like we said earlier, you've had 38 SummerSlams, and getting a list broken down to that, like wait until WrestleMania 50 when they start breaking down the top 50 moments of WrestleMania history. You know how tough that's got to be?
Yeah.
Like, it's the more editions you have of something, like there's just more variety and more things that people remember and more things that there's debate and that's great. It's great. It's great conversation. I love it.
Yeah, listen, that one's a little bit of an oversight on me. However, I will say I thought of it before I actually jotted the stuff down. And that would have fallen probably more on the edge for me because we want to diversify. We have 2 ladder matches on there already, right? So like how far are 3 ladder matches going to get? They're not going to get very far. But to his point, that's a great match. Triple H and Rock. I do love that match. And that would have should have been on the honorable mention graphic. So I'll take the heat on that one.
I'm going to throw in one more iconic moment, which is actually pretty recent. I forgot the Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match where Brock brings out the forklift and lifts up the ring.
I thought of it.
That was freaking awesome.
It was awesome.
The moment was awesome. I remember the match being good, but it's not. But that picture of the ring just being all out of whack it's just awesome. Cody and Cena from last year. That was a great match.
That was really great. I just felt like the reason I didn't put it on there, I thought of it, is something that recent, I think needs the test of time a little bit to see how it's looked at. I think it's a great match. One of Cena's best matches when he came back.
Mm-hmm.
So here it is, guys. For anybody tuning in now and you missed, sorry for the spoiler alert, go back, watch the discussion. We discussed the 16 moments plus another 8 in our honorable mention, plus some more that our old pal Ribshot threw out, and we appreciate that. So we discussed a lot of SummerSlam iconic moments here, but our winner, I can't spell today, man. I'm a mess. This is what happens when you're trying to type fast on 2 different computers.
The first.
Yes.
SummerSlam moment winner, TLC 2000, Dudley Boys, Hardy Boys, and Edge and Christian.
There it
I
is,
think
guys.
I'm going to have to go back and watch it.
Yeah. This is about the time I try to watch some SummerSlam stuff. So I'm going to make it a point to try to do that. Starting a little later. I go away to Florida on Friday, or Saturday. So I'll be doing our show next week with Chaz from sunny Florida. Maybe if it's not too noisy, I'll sit out with the palm trees and everything and beautiful scenery behind me. We'll see.
Do it. Oh yeah, I'll be in Brigantine next week. So we'll both be we may both
Nice.
be outdoors.
Chaz will be down there in Florida too. That's awesome.
Nice.
So yeah, guys, there it is. There's our winner. 2 quick things I want to get through before we hop off. But first and foremost, if you're still joining us, appreciate you guys. Make sure you come back next week, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next week and the week after, as we're going to welcome back one of our favorite guys. We just had him on for his 2nd time promoting his 2 books, Beneath the Skirt as well as Beneath the Scar. WWE legend, WWE Tag Team Champion Chaz Warrington is his government name. His WWE most notorious name is Headbanger Mosh. He's going to come on. When we had him on a few weeks ago, he talked to us about how in tune he is with the current product, how he is doing guest coaching at the Performance Center for WWE. So we talked to him about coming on and doing some more stuff in the future with current product stuff. And this is where we start. We kick it off here. He's going to join us to preview and review SummerSlam live from Minneapolis. So make sure you guys come back next week. We're going to have a great time with our old pal, Chaz Warrington, Headbanger Mosh. 2 quick topics, Eric, I think that are important that we bring up from Raw. And then if you want to throw anything in at the end of it. Is this it with Bayley? She loses to Lyra Valkyria. And the way that she lost, man, it had a weird vibe to it. Is this it with Bayley with WWE? Is she going to AEW?
I mean, the breadcrumbs have been spread by Mercedes online We've seen it for a little while now. It wouldn't surprise me, but it's just very anticlimactic. I think Bayley deserved a little bit better if this was it, which makes me believe for some crazy reason that this is not it. I know Lyra Valkyria referred to it on Raw last night during the commercial break. For the international viewers, she had an interview where she said that she ran Bayley out of the company, which makes me believe that it's possible that they could be running this back possibly at SummerSlam. If they're alluding it on TV, it gives me a little bit of hope, and I hope so, because I think if this is going to be it, I think she deserves a little bit of a better send-off. But I mean, it possibly could be, but I'm going to lean towards that she's going to come back for another match or two, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm disappointed with how this played out. Not for Lyra, although I don't love what they're doing with Lyra right now. This isn't even Nikki Cross, dude. This is like she's just like dirty. Like it's like Pigpen from Peanuts.
Lyra Velcro.
Yeah, it's like very weird. I don't like it at all. I don't get it. But I do think she could be a great heel if they really want her to be. I think she's showing that in her promos and her mannerisms. So I agree. I think Bayley deserves better. It's really unfortunate. And it wasn't that long ago, right? WrestleMania 40, like the crowd was back behind her. And I think a lot of it is booking. And not because of her. I think we got away from the like ding dong hello character a little too far and started to kind of get back to the, I'm really like your hero for your kids and role model. When kind of the anti-hero role model was a little bit more the vibe that I think really worked for her. So I don't know.
It's just funny how they teased a psychotic break with her, and then now the one with the psychotic break is Lyra. So I'm going to let this, of course, we're going to have to let it simmer with Lyra. I think it was obvious that she needed something new. She had some banger matches as Intercontinental Champion, and the crowd still didn't really connect as much as you would think. So I think this heel turn could help her, and hopefully it's leading to something a little more, with a little more substance on it, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, Bayley 1,000% deserves more. And if this is it for her, it is what hell of a career, and she'll do fine in AEW. That's for sure. Her and Mercedes will tear the house down, whether they're facing each other or teaming up or both.
Yeah, for sure. Final talking point I thought was important. We are getting the match we wanted, Eric. The one I've been on these airways begging for a long time. We're getting our Nick Aldis match. Nick Aldis has been officially declared for an in-ring return against Gunther. Loved at the SummerSlam kickoff. Was it where Hunter kind of like backed Nick Aldis for his actions?
Mm-hmm.
Where I was curious what his WWE status was, because I was like, oh, is he maybe leaving the company? Is his contract up? And like maybe they're just gonna have this, and either Gunther retires him, or they give him that match as like a hey, thanks for coming in and doing a good job before you go type of a deal. But that kind of leads me to believe, like, I saw reports that like, oh, they might have him removed as the permanent GM, and maybe they do if he becomes an in-ring competitor on a more normal basis. But I am very happy that we're getting this moment, and I'm optimistic because I like him in the GM role. So unless he is coming back to compete in the ring more, I hope he stays in that role. So yeah, it was really, I'm very happy that we're finally getting the Nick Aldis in-ring match at WWE. Well deserved for him.
Yeah. The only thing that I'm concerned about look at the booking of Gunther in the last few months. Talk about a guy that you gave the golden ticket to defeat John Cena in his very last match. The golden ticket that he gave, that was given to him, beating AJ Styles. And yeah, he got a WrestleMania win, but what has he done since then? And you said it a few months ago. Why are we putting Gunther in the title picture? He didn't need it. And now we're seeing the effects of that, where he had to take some losses. And then he takes the pin on Saturday night's main event, which I understand. If you're going to Aldis, he cost Gunther his title match. Cool. But Aldis coming back, I just hope it's not to be a victim of Gunther, because Gunther, his win-loss record the last few months has not been great. Are you going to give him another loss? And I hope it's not at the, at the forefront, or I hope it's not Nick Aldis. I'll just put it that way. And I think, they're going to put on a hell of a match. I'm really glad he's getting an opportunity. Former TNA champion, former NWA world champion. A lot of WWE fans probably never seen Nick Aldis wrestle unless they watch TNA. So a great opportunity for him to show what he's got in a WWE ring. But I hope that it's not to be the next victim of Gunther. But I feel like the writing's on the wall, unless I'm looking at something completely different here. But we'll see what happens. But I'm glad, if this is what we're getting, great. I'm happy that Aldis is getting his opportunity.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Listen, I'm happy he's getting the opportunity. We had Nick on here a few years ago. We recently reposted that on the Lazy Booking Podcast TV archives. You can also find it in the A2D archives, when he was the NWA champion. And we had the conversation about WWE. And in that conversation, it was very clear that I don't think he believed that this was a realistic possibility for him to actually compete in ring for WWE. I think essentially he gave us the answer of, it's something that I would love to do, but I don't look at myself as a failure for not doing it.
Yeah.
But man, since we had him on the show, he became the GM. He's around it all the time. He's been a producer. I'm sure that desire and fire to get in that ring has changed.
Oh gosh, yeah. Especially all the talent he's around all the time.
Yeah. So I think I'm happy for him, because our instincts of talking to him was that this was something he probably wanted but never got his hopes up for, and we're going to get it. He's going to get it on a big stage against a huge talent, and I think that it's somebody who we've seen make Goldberg look like a hell of an in-ring competitor for the longest match he ever had in his career. So I expect a lot for him. And I'm okay with the fact that I know he's probably going to lose this match. I'm fine with it. I just want him to be able to have a great match, and knowing he's going in there with Gunther and what I've seen him do with way less gifted in-ring performers, I'm very excited for Nick Aldis. So very cool to get that. Anything else before we hit the road?
No, excited to watch Unreal. I know you finished watching Unreal.
I did. Yes.
I'm about halfway through. So far, I think it's pretty decent. I enjoy the arc with John Cena and giving a little more perspective on the decisions that were made during that run. It's very questionable. A lot of people did not like, especially how it ended. But seeing what he wanted to do, I kind of understand a little bit more. I don't agree with all of it, but if the guy can go out on his own and be able to decide what he wants to do and be able to help others, you can't fault him for that. And I think looking at it from that lens just goes to show how selfless of a person that John Cena is. He wanted to make the company better than when he left it. That was his intention for this, especially his last year. So seeing that and hearing his perspective and analysis of why these decisions were made and what went on, it was clearly him in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I don't want to deep dive into it because
I know, but yeah, but
it's not even out for 24 hours. So
I know.
I think that's something in a few weeks when SummerSlam clears. Plenty of people should have been able to watch it. Maybe we make a segment where we really deep dive into it.
Go ahead and watch it. Do it.
But I would encourage. Listen, I watched it all today. It was very good, and I would encourage people to take the time to try to catch it because, it's an easy watch.
Yeah.
It's essentially become now like when they stopped doing the WWE 24s, which I loved, especially when they would do like the WrestleMania ones.
Yeah.
Unreal has essentially like the last episode of the season or every other season has become WrestleMania 20, the WWE 24.
Yeah.
So it's the last episode was really, really good. A lot of it.
I went on my soapbox, but I just wanted to point out that because if you haven't watched it, you definitely want to watch it, especially if you were like, oh my God, it was terrible, the worst run ever.
Yeah, I don't want to sway anybody. I want people to just watch it. And then let's see what they say. Let's see what they say.
Okay.
We'll invite people to come back and have that conversation because I am probably more along the lines of you, but I want to see what people's like genuine first impression without any kind of a push either way is. I'd be really interested to see. I have a feeling they're not going to be as understanding as we are.
Oh, no.
No. So shout out to our doctor, Dr. Paul Vidal at specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Appreciate you. Want to remind people next week, we've got our pal, Chaz Warrington, Headbanger Mosh. Next week and the following week, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, both weeks. He's going to preview SummerSlam with us next week. He's going to recap it the following week with us. And by the way, while you're at it, get out there, go grab his book, Beneath the Skirt. I finished it. It's tremendous. I promise you it's an easy read. It's very entertaining. And my next one, I got my copy. Very excited. So I got it a couple of days ago. I'm waiting. I'm going on vacation to Florida on Saturday. This is my book I'm going to take for me to read while I'm on vacation. So, but I'm very excited to read it, especially after the 3 episodes of Dark Side of the Ring. I did watch a little bit of Coach and Bro, heard him talk about some stuff. Clearly he watched it, Eric.
Of course he did.
He told us he wasn't going to watch it, but clearly he watched it. Because he had some things to say. I love Russo, though. Whether I agree with him or disagree with him, I love him. I'm excited that he comes on this show, that he has a friendship with us, where he'll join with us, and he's willing to pretty much anytime. So,
I'm with you.
Love that. But yeah, that's what we got for you guys. And stay tuned. We're going to be hitting August. Football season's coming around. I talked to one Mr. Blue Meanie, Brian Heffron. We will be bringing back our special Eagles Talk editions of the Lazy Booking Podcast. So just have to work around his schedule. So stay tuned for that. When we launch that, we'll do an Eagles season preview. That's all I got, brother. You good?
I'm golden, man. Thanks for everybody for chiming in on and leaving comments and continue supporting the show. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to talking to Chaz again next week and the following, leading up to the SummerSlam.
The SummerSlam. Yeah, guys, listen, this was a great time. Please make sure that you guys check out A2D Radio, check out Lazy Booking Podcast on Instagram, give us a follow, as well as find our YouTube page, Lazy Booking Pod TV, or look for Lazy Booking Podcast TV. You can find our page there. We drop some of our classic episodes. We repost this episode the following day. So this is Tuesday night. We post at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. And then we also have some original shows. Eric does Monday Night Time Machine a couple of times a month with our pal Rue. We're going to be adding some additional content soon. Some interesting concepts of things that, we might be bringing some significant others involved in. So it should be a lot of fun. I think for anybody out there with a wife or a girlfriend who is not a wrestling fan when you are, our one show that we're working on, you might be able to relate to it. So we'll have that announcement coming sooner than later. And make sure you guys stick to A2D Radio. Lots of shows here on A2D Radio. Flyers Talk A2D tonight. A2D Wednesday nights comes at you tomorrow night. We also have Agree to Disagree on Sunday nights, and obviously our show here. So lots to talk about for them. Maybe we'll get a LeBron decision by then. Bro.
Be patient, like Rich Paul said today. Be patient, Chrome. Be patient.
Listen, I don't care about a little bit of the pomp and circumstance of all of this. But, dude, like, at what point? Like, there has to be a point where, like now he's saying, like, I don't care if the league wants me to move faster. Screw your schedule. You'll figure it out. Like,
the longer this goes, the worse he looks.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I don't really blame him for taking his time.
But especially, and I talked about this with Christine today before we jump off. If you're going back to Cleveland and you're taking this long, then I'm going to be pretty upset because you're giving this false, like, Cleveland's probably the easiest decision you have here. It's your hometown. But like, if you're waiting for all this just to say I'm going to go back to Cleveland, I think that's going to be ridiculous.
Well, I think what makes it worse, like, I kind of thought to myself, maybe he's just really sitting back, like he really wants to go to Golden State, and he's just hoping that the Warriors are still trying to get AD there, and like he's not going to say that, but like that's secretly what's going on. He's just literally waiting till the last minute. But for Rich Paul to come out and say there's nothing anybody else can do, that's the game changer for me.
Yeah, like I don't know what it feels like when he took his talents to South Beach all over again. And how's he going to announce it? That's going to be the next thing. Oh, he's ready. Like, he's not just going to.
It could be his podcast. I mean,
he's not going to send it to Shams for him to post or to any of these other guys. It's going to be something elaborate.
Yeah, I think that for me is the game changer, though. That's obviously the big difference. It's like if there's nothing else anybody can do, then you know what is in front of you. Like you literally told us he needs no more information to make his decision.
Right.
And he really hasn't for a while. So at this point now it's time to nut up. So anyway, good show, Eric. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate it as always. And thank you to everybody for tuning in. And we'll see you guys here next week.
Yeah, man. See you next week. We'll be welcoming Chaz for myself, for Eric, and everybody else. You guys have a great week. Tell somebody you love them.
We out.